Hello and welcome to our podcast, The Blossoming Unity. We are Dennis and Nicole, and we are here to introduce you and invite you into the conversation about different spiritual perceptions, techniques, and methodologies in order for you to have inspiration for your day-to-day life. Hello, Nicole.
Hi, Dennis. This is what we do. Inspiration for the day-to-day life.
Yes, you have to inspire. You have to inspire.
Yeah. I call them brain stars. It's like, pew.
Yeah. You know, I found out my why.
Ooh.
Transformation.
Let's speak about it.
Transformation. Transformation.
That's all
That's it.
you do.
That's it. That's all. I want to. Today I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? This body, this mind, these emotions, these energies. I want to reach the limit that I think or I allow myself to reach, and then realize it's limitless. I want to see if there is a limit. I want to experience the limitless. I want to see if it is limitless. I want to see if it is limited. I want to see, I want to experience, I want to transform it all. And it was just took my shirt off, took my shoes off, and ran in the cold and just enjoyed the stillness of everything.
Everybody around was like, yeah, now he's nuts. Now he's gone. Okay, goodbye.
They were all sleeping, you know. It was just woods. I was just standing in the snow,
Nice.
staring at the woods, and
So it was nighttime. You were standing outside half naked.
Yeah, absolutely. If you shined a light on me, I could have possibly looked like a wolf man.
You could,
but long hair and a beard.
Yeah.
Shirtless.
What was the name of this?
Yeah, Twilight.
That's so funny. Yeah, you look a little bit like one
Yeah,
of
let's not do that. I used to get that when I was in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They used to call me yeah, we're not going down that road.
Wolverine. No, that's not from the same series. No, that's another movie, right?
Yeah, that's a
nice.
right there.
Yeah, okay, you did Wolf and then Transformation. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually really what the soul wants to do. Every soul, like every one of the 7 billion people, if there are 7 billion humans, we don't know yet. But every one of those humans, at least, the soul comes here to transform and to experience more of what they don't know. So transformation is necessary from a soul point of view. But then there's the physical body. And the only thing the physical body wants is security and stability. So that's the human conundrum. Like, the soul wants transformation, the body wants stability and not moving at all. And then you're like, okay, let's put them together.
Oh, see that's the thing. For me, it's about so with transforming, it's transforming beyond security.
Yeah.
When you ask yourself, is this going to transform me, or is this something that's going to give me security? Now, if it's coming from a place of security, that's coming from a place in the lower chakras, which will keep you there. Transforming, you're moving past security. Security doesn't matter. What are you securing? You're going to be able to transform.
You know that you are secure. You know that there's nothing to you, like the true you, nothing can happen. You don't die. You never get sick. You never, like, if you're on that point that you know on a visceral level. Dennis always makes fun of me because I say that. But if you know that on a visceral level, that you cannot die and you are not born and you cannot get sick, or you cannot, like, nothing happens to you, then security is granted. And if you know that on a visceral level, that means your hormones, your glandular system, your thought bus, your elements in the body, they know that as well, because they're secreting security all the time.
This beautiful thing. Find out what you're not and try to find what you are. Therefore, you can use the tools adequately.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to use the tool as the tool, you're going to have a bunch of mishap.
Well, it's, I think It's a process. You know, when I think back of my 25 years or 20 something years of experience in this field, in this personal growth, spiritual awakening.
Ugh, I don't like that word, personal growth.
Yeah, but
People take things too personal, and that's why they get
yeah,
stuck.
but that's how it's called in the beginning. So when you like when you start that, you maybe start to transform your body. You maybe have, I don't know, a constant headache, and then you're starting with um traditional Chinese medicine, and someone's poking you with needles for a
Mm.
year, and then you're not having a headache anymore, and you're like, ooh, remember the time when I always had a headache and now I have no headache? How amazing is that? And then you go on with your life, and then maybe you're having dysfunctional relationships all the time, and for the first time you're going to see a coach. I don't know. And then you work with a coach for a couple of weeks, and then you're like, all of a sudden your relationships start to get better, so you start to understand, ooh, I can transform that as well. And then it goes on and on and on. So like the understanding of that you have of transformation, possible transformation in this lifetime, like you can become whoever you want to. And we know that because the it's almost like shape shifting. It's almost like I can be a very sexy woman, which is like playing in a certain field of society, or I become a highly spiritual nun with a shaved head in Tibet. It's my choice. You choose, and then you pay the price for what you choose. So
Mm.
yeah, we know that we can be whoever we want to be. And people, when they start, they don't know that. They think they are who they think they are.
Yeah, first become no one.
Yeah. But, or last, depending on the journey.
But that's the thing about like personalities. Like when it comes to like relationships for me, I don't look for a personality at all. Personality is just a collection of all the shit you've been through and that you've like, oh, I like this, I'm gonna put that on. Oh, I like this, I'm gonna put that on. It's like I don't really care about that. That's cool that you wear all that glamour. For me, it's more about your presence. When you get rid of the personality, your presence really shines. And that presence, I can feel it. I can experience it. It's very real. I can experience you walking down the street 2 miles down the road because your presence is so
Vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then that's the whole thing about the personal growth. It's really recognizing that the personality doesn't need to really hold you down. And when you have a personality, in a sense, and you derive your sense of self-worth, you just can't take the mask off, and it causes issues for you. The problem is you can't take the mask off. That for most people, I know that was my problem. I couldn't take the mask off, and that's what caused all the suffering. So it was like when I realized, oh, I can take the mask off and just be nothingness, like nothing, and that doesn't even describe it. That's just a word. So words are just bleh. But that's when the presence starts being felt and experienced by everything, and it's yeah. Get rid of personality.
Yeah. It's I said that, I think I said it already before, but it's like spirituality has like different kind of steps to it. And like step one in spiritual growth, or in this awakening, is like you understand that you can change something. Like this is like for most of people, like, oh my god, do you know that I did this affirmation and it really worked? I my thoughts are really doing like that's what they're like, okay, oh my god, this is
Mm.
spiritual I 1.0. And then they're like, all of a sudden they understand that there are blocks, and then they're like, oh, it's not working, manifestation is not working. Well, yes, it does, honey. There is a block within you stored, and you can release that. And then they start to do the shadow work and the past life regressions and the trauma therapy and all of that. And then they're releasing the blocks. They learn how to do that. That's like spirituality 2.0. And then they think like they're highly, highly enlightened. Most of them, they have this messiah thing going on, like, oh, I found out that I have to release my blocks and then things work. And then they're telling that to their friends and everybody needs to know. Then there's like, you have to do that. But that's also not the thing, right?
Mm.
It's, you need to understand that your thoughts create and your words create your reality, and then you have to understand that there are blocks because of something, and then when you release those, then the things are coming through. And so it's like spirituality 3.0 always like, ooh, I can co-create with the universe, and the universe and I we're good friends, and like we're aligned with each other. And it's like, it's a step-by-step thing. You cannot skip a step. It's not possible. Like,
You just said something, and something just came to me
mm,
when you said it. You said thoughts create your reality and words create your reality. What if it only creates your reality if, as long as you derive your sense of self from it?
yeah, of course that's the case. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
consciousness takes any form. And if you derive your sense of self, which the true essence, we can use the label consciousness,
Yeah.
is you, and you identify with that form, that's how you're creating your reality.
Yes.
So a lot of the spirituality is getting still stuck on the form level of it. So the transformation would be going beyond that. I noticed within a lot of yogic, ancient yogis and even modern day yogis, when they speak about like words, thoughts, that the shit doesn't matter. Like it's just because they've gone beyond that. They don't derive their sense of self from the thought, and that no longer creates their reality. Now it's just a tool to be able to help navigate the reality.
It's even a little bit more complicated. You have to understand that your the capability of the quality of your thoughts
Yeah.
is directly linked to the to your subconscious landscape. So when you're living in a subconscious landscape, let's say, let's put the world map. Currently, we're having a war in Syria since 7 years because of oil. So let's say someone in their subconscious mind, they live in a war zone because of their childhood trauma, because of their ancestor trauma, because of shit ton of things. They live there in a war zone. So the quality of the thoughts they're downloading, whenever we're blinking, we're downloading 1,000 thoughts into the subconscious and conscious mind. So when you're living in a war zone, the vibration of thoughts that you can download in this war zone are a direct match to the vibration of the war zone that you're living in. But when you're living, let's say, in a monastery in Tibet, I don't know, let's go there. You live in as a monk in northern India, in Amritsar, for example. You live there as a monk and you do prayers every day and mantras every day, and so the vibration is a completely different one. The subconscious landscape that you're having is downloading a completely different type of thought, totally different in vibration and in real thought. And then the person living in war reality, that person has those chakras are vibrating in a certain way. So fear patterns and death patterns and, like a lot of livelihood things are going on. So the body's secreting those hormones. But this is all subconscious. You don't have a clue what's going on. Most of the people don't have a clue what's going on in their body. That's why it's so important to build knowledge around all those things. So in the yogic techniques, what we say in Kundalini yoga, but also in like other yogic sciences, is wherever you are situated in your subconscious mind, you need to get away from that. And that's what those meditation do. Like the addiction meditation that I'm doing this since 3 years every day. The addiction meditation, it brings you to a different spot in your subconscious landscape, and then you're able to download other thought forms. And in the beginning, when I was like 25, I thought that my thoughts were me. And with the time, with more spaciousness in yourself, because there are not so many blocks anymore, your auric field gets the thoughts outside of you. So now when I'm sitting somewhere, I'm not thinking anymore. I hear the thoughts like far away. Like it's like they're there and I know, but they're not me. And I think for people it's really, really important to understand, like, let's say you're having panic attacks, you're having anxiety disorder, you're having um, fears around anything, like whatever your fear is. That means in your subconscious landscape, you have stored behavior and belief systems and trauma that create those patterns in order for you to download the thoughts of fear and the reality of fear as well. So you have a fearful outside in order for you to understand what's stored in there and how you can change your reality. That's how it works.
There could be a simpler way.
Could be.
Whenever you're feeling fear, recognize that it's a projection of the future of what could happen from a past experience, or the fear of a past happening again.
Yeah. But it's not erased from the body then.
That's why we do certain yoga techniques. But if you're in the midst of it, you recognize that. You recognize you're not the mind and the body. We keep coming back to this every week, Nicole, with the not the mind and not the body. And I know with your teachings, it's so important with working with the body and doing the different. But if you're able to recognize that you're not the body, you're not the mind, and going through that with the body and with the mind, then you're able to elevate from that.
Yeah.
But
But
first you need to have that moment where you recognize that you're not the mind and not the body.
yeah, and that's the problem. When you're triggered, you're not able to think because your thinking happens in your prefrontal cortex. And when you're fearful, you're in your reptilian brain, and then your thinking is stopped. The only thing your body wants to do, fight or flight or play death. That's all there is. So you cannot think. That's why people, when they're triggered, they're unable to think. They're able to think again when they're coming a little bit out of the fear pattern. But that's why trauma therapy is so important. That's why I do that, because I know how the brain works. This is how the whole functionality of the brain. And that's why I hate when people say you just have to think positive and then you will be better, to someone that is depressed or someone that has a panic attack. Oh, come on, fuck off. You have no fucking clue how the brain works. You have no clue how anything in the body works, and you're giving tips and tricks. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, what's wrong with those people? It's not how it works. Like, when people are triggered, their functionality is the only thing that works in their brain is the reptilian brain. And you cannot how do you say overcome that just by thinking. It's not a habit.
Yeah, it's not through thinking, it's through awareness.
Yes, but the awareness is having a high vibration, and fear has a low vibration, and the low vibration always wins in the first moment. The faster you come out of it, I'm totally with you, to come faster out of it, to detach from from this associated fear, to detach faster. Yes, I'm with you, but it's just not how it works. It's not how things work at the moment in the physical body of human beings. And I think it's a difference between people that have, there is different types of fear pattern, the fear disorders. There are many different types of it. And there is a fear disorder where people just think of things and then they're building up fear. that's a completely different story. Then I'm with you. Then I'm like, when they're sitting at home, like, oh, what if this happens, and what if that would happen, and what if, if the fear is built up in the mind, I'm totally with you. Then sit there, and then you're like, okay, wait a second. I'm just projecting the things I experienced in the past into the future, and that's what is building up here in my brain. But the physical fear, like real fear, like triggered fear, there's no chance. And also to be discerning in what type of fear patterning you're in. It's very important.
Mm.
And I think most people, that's at least what I see in broader society, and in clients, and in all of that. People can deal very well with their own thinking patterns, and they get out quite quickly, because there are many good things, there are many good techniques out, having post-its with certain words on it, etc. But and then they feel really bad when they're triggered, and they cannot change their trigger, and they think, oh, I just have to remember my mantra, you're happy and whole and complete. What a bullshit. When you're triggered, it doesn't help. It just doesn't. It's not how it works. But yeah, um it's a when you're building up your fear, you're on your own, then what you say works perfectly. Then dissociating with that works.
It's not disassociating. It's being there with it. You recognize it, you see it. You're aware of it all. You're aware of the thought as just a thought. And it's not thinking, oh, this is just a thought. It's not using thought to diagnose a thought. It's not using an emotion to diagnose an emotion. It's just being there, observing. Like, even that doesn't give it justice. And I've been in those moments where there was a particular situation that happened, and the triggering happened when it was with one of my children and them getting hurt, that instant natural reaction. And rather than it coming in so powerful as it would before, and I would naturally freak out, it was a very subtle me witnessing it
Mm.
the whole time as it arose. So I witnessed it the whole time it was in the body, with the fear of what was happening around there. But it was no longer the entanglement of fear with the identity.
Yeah.
And that's where the big thing happens. Is the problem is the identification with the fear when you're triggered. When you're identified with that fear, because and it's so deeply engraved with the personality, because you've created a personality derived from that trauma or fear.
Mm.
You have a whole structure. Your foundation is now built. Your whole personality is now built on that trauma or fear, and you don't recognize it when that occurred, because it was so traumatic and painful that now there's layers of identity that's been created, and memories and information created from that initial thing, and without it being properly recognized, for what it is, and then being able to move from that. Now you're trying to release this thing that's built this foundation of the personality. Now you're fighting the personality. So there's that saying, when you're too busy staring at the shadows, you forget that you're the light. I think someone said something about that. I don't remember who it was, but it was very true. At least in my experience, I can say, is with seeing someone with alcohol. I had a very bad alcohol addiction. I tried to kill myself with alcohol because I was too much of a coward in how I would think of myself, too much of a coward in trying to just do it because of the pain that I was feeling inside. But now when I recognize it for what it is, and that I had an entire personality built from that identity of being an alcoholic, or not worthy enough, or not good enough, and all these different things that went along with it. The list goes on. Trust me. The awareness, when you're aware enough, it does not matter what anything is. It does not matter what the trauma is, what the fear is, what the pain is, what the pleasure is, any of it. It does not matter. The joy, the happiness, all of it's just words at this point that I'm speaking. None of that matters when you really get with that awareness. You become so aware and conscious that when you recognize that you don't allow any of it to arise, because it no longer is derived from who you are. And that's why recognizing the personality is not who you are, and that you're able to go beyond that and really just feel that presence into being. It's right here. Always is.
Yeah. It's, I think it's really important. Probably I need to explain once in one of our podcasts how triggers and the brain functions, and how what I mean when I speak of associated memory and dissociated memory. Because when you're dissociating from your memory, that means your memory is being transformed and is no longer able to trigger you in the future. Like, look, everything that happens to you, everything that happens around you wants to show you something about yourself, about something that is still there in your subconscious landscape, stored. You can think of it like when you're having a computer, and the computer is having a cache, which is like the storage place for, like when you're going to the internet, when you're clicking on your browser. So you already clicked YouTube, that YouTube loads faster, it's stored in your cache. And your body is the same. So when what happens usually is you go by your day as a child, you go to sleep in the afternoon, you're transforming what you learned in the morning, you go to sleep at night, you transform what you learned during the day, and you integrate it. And when there is too much stress for your nervous system, not obvious stress, just for your specific nervous system, and you cannot transform what you experienced through the day, then there is a trauma happening. That's it. That's the definition of trauma. Your nervous system is not able to transform the information perceived into the subconscious landscape, the unconscious. And what that does is it creates behavior patterns, relationship patterns, like a lot of different patterns. That's how it works as a human. And this is how karma works as well. So what happens when you're experiencing, I don't know, I just drove by a huge car accident. Like I drove with my car, and there was a frontal crash on my height. So I turned around, and my physical body released hormones that made me stressed, and and of course I recognized it in my body, but I know what you mean when you're saying, like, you're just being aware that the hormone, that this is floating through your body, and then you're not associating with that. But if I would have had trauma stored in my physical body that was in my cache, that was not transformed yet, it would kick in differently. And then you're going back to reptilian brain, and then the whole thing happens. So it's a very technical, what I'm saying, that this awareness thing won't work for someone that is triggered. That means the person that is triggered is as old as the person was when the trauma occurred. So you're not having a functional brain like a 30-year-old person when you're 30, but you're having the functionality and the knowledge and the capability of a 5-year-old. That's what's happening. Then the awareness, which is held captive in the past, of the 5-year-old that, I don't know, ran with the bicycle into a car and had an accident, then you are 5 again. And then you're in this physical body of a 30-year-old male, your capability of reaction is a 5-year-old's capability. And that's what's happening. And that's why awareness doesn't bring shit to those people when they're triggered. And I think this is just really important to understand from a technical point of view. There is a certain kind of behavior pattern, a fear set, a thought set when you're not triggered. But when you're triggered, it's a completely different story. And most of the people when things are happening to them, they're triggered from their past, and that's why they cannot choose to think differently. They cannot. This is how technically, what's happened technically in their body. And I think it's creating a lot of suffering, especially in the spiritual community, because I have a lot of clients which are like, they're not like, I have clients all over the world where people tell me, like, when they had sessions with me, like, oh, I always thought I'm doing something wrong, you know, that. And then there's this thing, like, I'm working on myself since 10 years and it's still not better, and I'm just stupid and I'm just unable, you know. There's a lot of that going on in the spiritual community. And also there you could dissociate. There you could say, oh yeah, it's just my past memory that is triggering a fear in the future, and I'm just, you know, then there's possible to get away from that pain, or to sit with that pain, as you say, but not when you're triggered. It's just not working like that.
Yeah, it just gets to a point where the pain just doesn't even arise anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The stress doesn't arise anymore.
No, it doesn't arise anymore. It doesn't. And I'm with you. I mean, I could teach only that as well. Like, I know what you mean. I know what those teachings mean. But I think it doesn't do justice to the people that are experiencing the triggered version of the arised emotions, and they cannot change
When
their
they're in the moment, you're talking about someone who's never worked
Yes.
with their awareness at all.
Yes, there's no chance. And
Oh
this
yeah,
is
if
the
they
joy.
if they haven't if they haven't embraced any awareness at all and they haven't started anything with that, then probably not. It would
They
probably be more
could have
surface
easily have
level for them.
started. It's complicated. Like, you're probably an enlightened being already, you know. I don't want to speak about that, but it's very, like, I just see that through the spiritual community, I see a lot of bullshit going on when it comes to technicality of how to experience triggers. And I cannot, like, I think it's so stupid. And it creates so much suffering within a lot of people. And I really don't like that. So, yeah. And I'm with you. You said you want to have this say yes challenge again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a really good point to, like, saying yes to life each morning,
Every moment.
every moment.
Yes.
That's a lot of yes.
This is the thing. We say what's good, what's bad, um, and all that. When you take away the good and the whole bad thing, actually, I was in a conversation with a close friend of mine. I don't know if I shared this on the last podcast we had, but that we differentiate, you know, good and bad. This is good. This is bad. This is good. This is bad. This is preferred. This is unpreferred, and we shut out so much of life by just throwing a label on it, saying, "Well, this is unpreferred. This is not good. This is bad." And we have that same thing going on within our minds and in our intellect with saying that's a good thought, that's a bad thought, that's a good feeling, that's a bad feeling. We 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 create good and bad guys within our own bodies and minds. We're shutting off a portion of ourselves to be experienced when we're putting them in these categories of good and bad within ourselves. And then it's being projected out into the world. There always has to be a good guy and a bad guy. The good guy believes he's the good guy, the bad guy believes he's the good guy, and the bad guy thinks he's a good guy and thinks the good guy's the bad guy. It goes on and on and on. And it's a projection of our mind of thinking something's good, more preferred, or something's bad, and it's not. When you allow yourself to say yes to life, that doesn't mean you say yes to this and no to this within your thought realm or your emotion realm. You embrace it all and you allow all of it to come into your experience, and then you get to choose how you want to respond, if you need to respond. And that really opens up so much to the experience of life. And when you say yes to life, life opens doors that you can't imagine. life moves for you. But we like to put little labels on everything and go, this is not preferred. It doesn't matter whether you prefer it now or not. In the moment, if it arises, obviously you can choose whether you want to dance with it or not. But the thing is it's stained in your mind. And if it has any, we can bring this back to anything from the past where you may have been triggered in the past, it'll automatically label that because the mind will throw that veil on it, even though it's not it.
It's just, okay.
So being able to recognize that, you don't have to run away from life. You
Yeah, but
embrace it openly.
imagine, okay, someone, let's take a woman this time as an example. A woman was sexually abused in her childhood when she was 12 to 16 by an uncle, as an example. So in her vibrational field, there is still the abuse there. So when she says yes to life and yes to everything, what she will attract is more abuse because it's still in her subconscious landscape. She needs to get rid of the shit first. It's not smart. This is how the world works. It's resonance. It's you're attracting what you're vibrating. So yes, I'm with you in the say yes to life thing. I'm totally with you. When you're good with your general vibrational existence, when you're still not so good, I would say instead of saying yes to life, I would say yes to a therapist. I know I'm annoying today. Dennis is starting to sleep because he's annoyed with me.
Well, I'm not annoyed. It's that when you have those triggers, and I've had my own triggers, and I said no to life to so many different things. And if I would have said yes, looking back in the situations that I had said no because of my triggers, because of my pain, then it would have been a completely different life if I would have opened up and said yes.
But do you know that it would have been better? No, you don't. Because
I do
that's
now looking back. In that experience that I was saying no to those things. I was saying no to life for so long. I created so much suffering for myself.
yeah.
So much suffering. Saying no to life to so many things because of my fears, because of my past, because of my pain, because I was suffering my memory. I was saying no to everything. Saying no to everything. I was saying no to, I wasn't until I was forced by the universe to open up my mouth. Otherwise, I never would have spoke ever, ever. I used to create all the time. I made music. I danced. I was so for life. And then I started saying no to life. I got in a car accident. We flipped 13 times. And then I started saying no to life because I was petrified and terrified of life. And that resonance was within me. And it brought up everything that I felt pain from in the past as well. And that was all sitting there. Unworthy, not good enough, all of it. I became 280 pounds. Severely unhealthy, alcoholic, hated myself. It all was there. I'm literally walking proof of what I'm speaking. This is experience. When you say yes to life, that resonance of the pain that you had in the past, and maybe that particular situation and what you're speaking about could be different in that context.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
Dennis, you only can say yes to life since you cleansed your subconscious shit. You couldn't say yes to life 2 years ago, but you can do it now because now you cleansed your subconscious landscape and now you're like opening up since a year or something. But before it wasn't possible, and it was right that it wasn't possible. That's what I'm saying. There is a moment for everything. And yes, say yes to life. Okay, good for us all. Let's do that. What I'm saying is be aware that this energetic game it has rules to it. And the rule is one very simple rule. It's the rule of attraction. And you're attracting what you are in your subconscious landscape. Everybody does that. There is no exception in life. None at all whatsoever. For no one. It's a vibrational game here on this planet. You're vibrating a certain kind of thing and you're attracting exactly what you need. And therefore, yes, I say yes to life every day because I know how my subconscious landscape looks. And that's why I can attract a lot of interesting people. That's why I can, like, do all of that. And you too. But I'm just saying the energetic existence here on planet Earth has a rule set coming with. And I'm not a fan of putting things out that are, that are just working for a certain type of people. So if you feel called to say yes with Dennis, I think you should do it.
Oh, say yes to yourself.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. It's about you transforming you. This isn't about anybody else. This isn't not about nobody else. This life isn't about anybody else. It's about me. My experience within me.
Yes.
It's about me. It's about me. And I don't say no anymore. The moment I started saying yes to life was the day, and it wasn't an outward yes. I remember precisely, actually. There was a day I was 280 pounds, and I remember I was packing, and I had some of my quote unquote skinny clothes, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna throw those out. I'll never be skinny again. I'll never be healthy again. I'm gonna be fat for the rest of my life. That's what I said. The night that I said that, I got an ulcer out of the blue. Came out of nowhere. I didn't eat for 2 weeks. I couldn't drink anything either. The pain was absolutely horrible. It was from the esophagus going into the stomach, right in that lining for the esophagus meeting there, or wherever it meets, whatever that alignment is right there. Anytime I tried to eat anything, I would pass out from the pain. I wasn't able to drink anything. And we were traveling. I was on the road. So I was driving with no nutrition, no water, no nothing. Eventually, about a week and a half in, I ended up going to the hospital so I could get an IV because I just couldn't do it. I kept passing out from pain. And then I got the information that it was actually an ulcer, and that's why I was feeling the pain. And then right after that, it was about I would take honey and this and drink water in the ulcer medication that they give you. And that's all I had for almost 4 weeks. That's all I could have. And then finally I started being able to eat crackers. I lost like 30 to 40 pounds within that period. At that moment, in that time, there was a moment when the ulcer finally set in, when I was like, this is the change that I have to open to.
Yes.
That's when I said yes. Actually, the moment I said yes, I didn't say it outwardly. It was when I said I'm going to be fat forever.
Yeah.
And then after that, the neural pathway switched. Started eating healthy. Changed my complete diet. Changed it all.
Yeah. It's like not eating for 4 weeks food, like solid food, changes your whole brain chemistry. I mean, that's proven. You can eat for 4 weeks. You could do soups for 4 weeks, and you would, like, the brain chemistry changes, and then enlightenment is possible. Yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. I think that's a proof of concept of what food does to your body. And
Yeah.
sometimes I had cancer. I had a back operation. I died. I came back. I know exactly what it means when you say yes to life. Accept who you are, your uniqueness. Like, that's why we do Ellie, to tell everyone, be unique. It's your lifestyle, like do you. It's like, yeah. So just be aware of the rule set. All right, guys. I think we're good for this week.
Yeah, say yes.
Say yes. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Let us know some comments. What's going on? What do you think? What you're looking.
Yes, and definitely check out Vision.
Yes.
Beautiful magazine. It is beautifully orchestrated. And if you're looking for, techniques or, breathing exercises, meditation, yoga, mindfulness, check out my.ally. Nicole's an amazing coach on there, and there's many others that are really willing to help transform your life. So go check it out.
Dennis is there as well, by the way.
I'm like in the shadows.
Yeah. Okay. Have a great week, guys. Thank you.